Do you have any idea how ridiculous what you're describing is? Sylvia shouted. I thought you were a professional, despite your age. But appearances can be deceiving. It appears you are not yet beyond childish tricks. So, we shall learn a lesson, Sylvia said, beckoning her fingers once again, with an angry expression on her face. And suddenly, in the middle of the air, right next to Sylvia, as if it was coming from nowhere at all, a book began to materialize out of thin air, as if it were passing through some invisible barrier and suddenly coming into view. A very large brown tome that looked exceptionally old. This is actually an exceptionally rare book, Sylvia said, gesturing to the book floating in the air. This chronological book tells of all the fulcrum signs of one specific universal pattern, that of one of the 7 legendary patterns, the dealer. Beckoning her fingers again, the book opened, still floating in the air in front of her. She began a little bit of light reading, flipping to the first page, and placed her finger into the book, as if she was pointing at something. However, the book was facing towards her, and we could only see the back. So, let us play a little game, since you apparently like those. There are many specific, and may I say, incredibly specific circumstances that one must exist within in order to be classified as a dealer. Let us start with the very first one. Tell me, Reginald, what is your birthday? My birthday, I replied, with a somewhat curious expression on my face. What does that have to do with anything? Well, birthdays are a very important thing, Reginald, not just to you, but to the universe itself. And while every day of every year is somewhat special in some small way, the conditions for which are required to create a dealer are much more specific and far more interesting than the average person, only possibly occurring under the alignment of 5 red stars forming a hexagon in perfect alignment with Earth, along with 10 realms being in a very specific alignment. It is, in fact, so rare an event that it only happens once every 100 years or so, and there is only one day in the last 100 years or so that a dealer could have possibly been born. Thus, if you are a dealer, as you are not 100 years old or greater, you could only have one birthday and only be born within a 1-minute time frame within that day, as the alignment must be perfect. So, young Reginald, what is the day and time of your birth? Okay, I replied, feeling a bit put on the spot, and as if Sylvia was taking this maybe a little too seriously. Or hell, maybe I wasn't taking it seriously enough. I was born October 10th, 10 years ago. I believe my mother said, at 5:10 a.m.? Sylvia began to get a somewhat disconcerted expression. Well, I guess getting 1 doesn't prove anything. Lots of people had to have been born that day, even within that very minute. Random chance. There are still many more forces that need aligned before one can call themselves a dealer. So let's try again, shall we? Beckoning her fingers once more, the pages began to turn, stopping. Sylvia read a little bit more. Well, Mr. Reginald, Along with days and times, there are corresponding events within the life of a dealer, just as there are corresponding events within the lives of anyone who falls into any pattern. But the dealers are quite specific, not only being the events themselves, but those events corresponding with very powerful forces within the universe. So tell me, Reginald, what exactly were you doing on December 16th at about 9 p.m.? Ugh, I sighed at Sylvia. That's a really specific question. It's very hard to say. I definitely have had a lot going on. Give me a moment so I can try to remember, I said, starting to rub at my chin a little bit. As I counted back through the days and weeks and even months leading back to that day, it suddenly dawned on me. That was the day that I met the man in the pinstripe suit. And if memory serves correct, at about 9 p.m., I was most likely, I thought to myself. Sylvia, I said, I don't know exactly what was going on at 9 p.m. Honestly, it's a little troublesome to try to keep track of the exact moment in time that the events were transpiring. However, I do know that around 9 p.m. is when I first met the man in the pinstripe suit, the one everybody calls the devil, the dealer, the man at the crossroads, all that nonsensical stuff that makes him sound so mysterious and epic. It was about that time that he came to visit me for the second time, hoping to strike a deal with me. Around that point in time, we had a conversation regarding whether or not the business dealings we were having were fair. He was a little upset that I may have suggested that his business practice wasn't as fair as it seemed, to which his response was to teleport me over what I assume was a volcano. As I was dangling over an abyss of hot lava, smoke, and fiery flames, I was a bit too caught up to catch all the details of the location itself. And it was shortly after that we decided to move our negotiations to a place he referred to as the Ring Eternia. Somewhere he said it would be a little easier for us to have a balanced negotiation. For a moment I thought about telling Sylvia about my little game with the man in the pinstripe suit. However, I decided to not include that information, still remembering the unfortunate things that Victoria told me might happen if people found out. However, looking at Sylvia as I stopped talking, I think she might know more than I want her to already, as she had a completely stunned expression on her face. She even had her mouth hanging open. "That's complete insanity," Sylvia said, still looking completely astonished. "That was the night of the 10th anniversary alignment of the 5 stars most closely affiliated with the spirit of chaos. An event that only transpires once every 1,000 years or so," Sylvia said, beckoning her fingers once more as the book turned around to show very vibrant pictures. "According to the book, yet another one of the pivotal signs or events that transpire within the life of a dealer is the dealer's first challenge, which corresponds with the alignment of those 5 stars on the 10th anniversary cycle, specifically saying that on that day the new dealer shall challenge a much more experienced dealer, best him in that challenge, with his very life on the line for great personal profit. It even includes pictures of the aforementioned activities of the day. Included within the book that Sylvia spun around were pictures, very vibrant ones, with very large lettered descriptors of the moments. One was labeled "The Insult to Practice" and had a man being held above a spike pit. The other picture, labeled "The Fool's Victory," showed two men playing cards, and one man, dressed much more shabbily than the other, winning at a hand of poker or some sort of card game.